Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. There was an unexpected and kind of amazing moment at the White House today. Kanye West, the rapper, showed up in the Oval Office and proceeded to give what amounted to effectively a campaign speech while sitting directly across from the President of the United States and while pounding on the presidential desk. You've likely already seen pictures of what happened. It's everywhere. And the scene may have confused you. You might have concluded it was a publicity stunt staged by famous people in order to become more famous. You may have found yourself muttering about the debased and celebrity-centered focus of our public discourse these days. You may even have felt a little sad, knowing that the dignified country you grew up in is gone for good. You can be forgiven for reaching those conclusions, but they're not the whole story of what happened today. Believe it or not, Kanye West said some genuinely interesting things this afternoon, things we ought to be talking about in public, but are not. He'll probably destroy his career for saying them. He'll certainly be despised by many of his former friends. But before any of that happens, let's consider what he actually said. We'll go with the most offensive things first. Here they are.
You know, people expect that if you're black, you have to be Democrat. I've had conversations that basically said that welfare is the reason why a lot of black people end up being Democrat. They say, you know, first of all, it's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. I think it's the bravery that helps you beat this game called life. You know, they try to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way. You know, my dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. You know, I love Hillary, I love everyone, right? But the campaign, I'm with her, just didn't make me feel as a guy that didn't get to see my dad all the time, like a guy that could play catch with his son.
She didn't make me feel like a guy who could play catch with his son. West didn't explain exactly what he meant by that, and yet at the very same time, he could not have put it more precisely or more poignantly. He grew up in a party whose policies have systematically destroyed the American family, especially in poor neighborhoods. I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home, West said with obvious sadness. Millions of American kids know exactly what he is talking about. The Democratic Party won't acknowledge these kids or their loss. To party leaders, fathers in the home are at best irrelevant. At worst, they're an impediment to political power. Married women tend to vote Republican, and they know that. When prominent Democrats attack the patriarchy, what they're attacking is fathers. When they wage war on toxic masculinity, what they're trying to suppress is masculinity itself. Everybody knows this. Few are brave enough to say it out loud. West essentially did, and then he kept going. Watch this.
So, and that's a move, one of the moves that I love that liberals tried to do. The liberal would try to control a black person through the concept of racism because they know that we are very proud, emotional people. So when I said I like Trump to like someone that's liberal, they'll say, oh, but he's racist. You think racism can control me? Oh, that don't stop me. That's an invisible wall.
You think racism can control me? It's an invisible wall. The reporters looking on seem stunned, even betrayed. And then just to rub it in, West went on to defend the Bill of Rights. Watch.
What about gun violence with all the debate about the Second Amendment going on?
The problem is illegal guns. Illegal guns is the problem, not legal guns. We have the right to bear arms.
What do we make of all of this? Well, obviously, just from watching, you can tell that Kanye West is an eccentric guy. He meanders. He talks like someone who's never had to filter his thoughts, which he probably never has had to do. But much like someone else who comes to mind, West may be precisely crazy enough to think for himself. And that's a valuable quality right now. No consultant advised him to say any of that. Clearly, nobody controls him. Sometimes he doesn't control himself. But listen carefully to what he said. Sprinkled throughout his ramblings are flashes of truth, real insights into the way the world actually is, rather than the way they tell us it is. Nobody else is allowed to talk this way. Go ahead and try it at work. You'll get fired. West doesn't care, and that makes him dangerous to a system that is based almost entirely on piety and lying. If you're benefiting from a system like that, Kanye West must be crushed. Here's the math of it. The Democratic presidential candidates, everyone who runs, needs to get almost the entire black vote in order to win a national election. That's not easy to do, so in order to do it, Democrats sow racial division. They pit Americans against each other based on their ethnicity. You can't support them. They're the wrong color. You hear that all the time. It's now the essential Democratic argument. It's destructive, but more ominously for Democrats, it may no longer be working. A poll by Public Broadcasting just last week found that Trump's approval rating with Hispanic voters is 41%. That's higher than it is with college-educated white voters. If anything like that ever happened among African-American voters, the game would be over. So that can't happen. Kanye West must be destroyed. And so the thought police swooped in almost immediately to arrest this disobedient artist and declare him incompetent.
Wow. Okay, I'm doing this for everybody who's watching us who turned their volume down. You can put it back up again. That
But
was
if you think you're going to
bonkers.
get a thoughtful play-by-play and political analysis, you're not, because that was an assault on our White House.
It was a combination of stream of consciousness. I felt like I was sitting in on a psychiatric visit and a commercial for Donald Trump.
What I saw was a minstrel show today. Him in front of all of these white people, mostly white people, embarrassing himself and embarrassing Americans, but mostly African Americans.
Yeah, shut up, Kanye. You're crazy. Keep in mind, this is coming from the same people who believe Hillary Clinton is entirely well, indeed a serious person. They're hoping this works, this crazy stuff, and that you believe them. And just in case you don't, they want to remind you that Kanye West is a race traitor, as Don Lemon just said, who has a low IQ. Here was CNN on Tuesday night.
Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. And we have this now, and now Donald Trump is going to use it and pervert it, and he's going to have somebody who can stand with him and take pictures.
Kanye, because he's put on a MAGA hat and he's an attention whore like the president, he's all of a sudden now the model spokesperson. He's the token Negro of the Trump administration.
Got that? He can't read because he's the N-word. That's what the liberals on a liberal cable channel are now telling you. But they have no choice. They are terrified you will listen to what Kanye West is saying, and that's not allowed. Jason Nichols is a professor of African American Studies at the University of Maryland, someone who's followed Kanye West closely for years. He joins us tonight. So is it okay to say that you're the N-word and you can't read? Like, is that... I don't even.
Well, hold
is that
on,
allowed?
Tucker, he didn't say that he couldn't read. He said that he doesn't read.
Well, he's dumb. He's dumb because he's the N-word.
No,
a word that I'm not going to use on this show.
He did not call him the N-word.
Yeah, he did.
He said Negro, which is different. It's an antiquated term, but it's not the N-word.
Look, if you said that, if there was a meeting of black leaders with anybody and you said something like that, which I would never do because it's disgusting.
I sure hope not.
I never would.
Sure hope not.
But if you ever did say something like that, you'd lose your job so fast to make your head spin.
Well, again,
so, like, what is
it's
this? Is it okay? No, but hold on. You know exactly what's going on. Kanye West, like, I don't know anything about Kanye West. You do.
I do.
So I'm not an expert on the subject, but I know that you should be allowed to have an opinion that's different from the mob's opinion. The groupthink isn't mandated. No, truly. The mob on cable news. Like, it's okay to have a different view. It's all right if one guy disagrees. Okay?
Again,
and they use racial epithets and call him stupid and crazy? Like, what is this?
Well, number one, in terms of calling people stupid and crazy, that's something that the president has done several times to lots of African Americans.
Are we for that now?
So
I mean, no, but hold
he
on. Like,
essentially has done the exact same thing.
Okay,
so
but I thought we were against that. I mean, they're attacking him on the basis of his race because he's deviating from the group.
But Tucker, call it out from your president. Kanye West, you know, and
Kanye, what does the president have to do with it? I'm just saying, I'm watching Don Lemon. But hold on.
Don Lemon, you know, come on.
I don't know. It's a major case. Is that okay? I guess that's what, look, I don't think it's okay when anybody does it. I don't care what color or party. I'm not into it.
My view on Kanye West is this. I have lots of sympathy and empathy for him. He and I actually have a lot in common. We both lost our mothers around the same time. I know how that's a stabilizing force in your family, and I think he does suffer from some mental illness as he was diagnosed with bipolar, even though he tried to undiagnose himself.
But I thought
a lot of his ramblings were incoherent.
Okay, they were
and
incoherent.
That's what people are pointing out.
Okay, but some, I agree, some were incoherent, but some were totally coherent. He said, look, the Democratic Party's policies have wrecked the black family. That's true.
That's incorrect.
Okay, but we can argue. Look, there's a lot of social scientists. We can have a separate.
Sure.
But that's an actual position that people who study it for the course of their lifetimes believe. That's not a crazy crazy perspective. A lot of people think that. I think that. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, no, you're not. But I think that
So why is it over the line when he says that?
Well, I think a lot of people are also disappointed.
Why?
And I think they're disappointed because Kanye held certain positions early on in his career that he was almost like a folk hero in the African American community, particularly in the hip hop community.
When he called George W. Bush racist, but you're allowed to change your views. I've changed my views on almost everything because America's changed. So don't we want that? See, what this is not, I don't care about Kanye West. And I don't actually care about any political party. What I care about is the freedom to think for yourself and to tell the truth as you see it.
Yeah, and he has.
But why are we attacking him for that?
Well, no, I mean, you on this show every night, as you've said, I have the right to have an opinion upon people that voice their opinions.
I totally agree, but I'm just saying,
and so
we're attacking this guy as crazy
wrong.
And an N-word who can't read and stupid, and he's like a traitor to his race because he's got a view that's different from the majority. Like, that's a fascist position. Like, we should encourage people to think for themselves, shouldn't we?
No, we absolutely should, but what they're trying to say, and I think what Bakari Sellers meant by him not reading, not that he couldn't read, but that him not reading is that he didn't have an understanding of some of the things that he talks about. He hasn't actually read and thought these things through.
Rather than rebut it and say, well, here's the information I have that shows that welfare has not hurt the black family. It's actually strengthened it. Okay, show me the info. It's like, you're crazy, you're stupid, you're a traitor to your race. It's like, you can't have an honest conversation when people are saying
even
stuff
some
like
of the
that.
things that he said, when he talked about welfare today, he talked about things that hadn't been in place since 1994.
No, well, he's not a policy expert, but I don't know. It's just this weird.
You don't get
thing.
more money for having more children. That's been phased out. That was phased out with TANF by Bill Clinton, and he's still stating it, which means that he is not up on the issues that he's espousing.
There's one issue. You
about.
have a famous person who's not a policy expert, but he's thinking for himself, and that's not allowed.
But the president brings him in to talk policy. But that's troubling.
Yeah, I guess.
Bring in some guys who actually know
he brought him in to illustrate how totally intolerant the left is, and he succeeded.
No, as I said,
all right.
I love Kanye. I want him to actually get himself together. No.
Okay, we got to go because Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Tucker.
Well, the rage against Kanye West wasn't simply on television; it was all over Twitter. Tariq Nasheed said this: Kanye West is exactly how people who benefit from the system of white supremacy like to see black men groveling, buck dancing. I can't even read that; it's such crap, and it's so mean too, by the way. Someone else called Samuel Singawane added, quote, Kanye is that one black friend every white racist person talks. You know what? I'm going to stop reading this because it's too nasty and go right to our guest. Christopher Harris is Executive Director of Unhyphenated America. He joins us tonight. I just want to be clear, Mr. Harris, I've never met Kanye West. I never will. But I just think it's too mean to attack a guy just because he agrees with you on like that personal basis that you're a traitor to your race. Like, who talks like that?
Well, the left talks like that, Tucker. I mean, you look at Donna Brazile recently, just what she, one of those nasty tweets, she tweeted out that Kanye West has set black folks back 155 years. I mean, isn't that amazing? One individual who has an opinion that's different from the black collective somehow is going to set black folks back into the slavery years. I guess they're expecting at any moment now plantations are just going to pop up all over America. But, if that were to happen, it would be Democrats trying to put us back on the plantations that they own.
But does it help? I mean, does it help anybody, individuals or a large group of people, when you tell them you're not allowed to think for yourself, you have to take orders, and anyone who has a different thought should be punished? I mean, it's hard to succeed in life if you're not having independent thoughts, isn't it? Or maybe it's not.
Well, absolutely. And the left is nothing if not hypocritical. I mean, let's jump out to Hollywood. Let's talk about Alyssa Milano. A few months back, she talked about having a mental illness. What's the difference between Alyssa Milano and Kanye West? Well, one, Alyssa Milano is a D-list actress, and Kanye is a musical genius and hip-hop superstar. But they both have a mental illness. So are we now, is it okay to attack people for having a mental illness if they hate Donald Trump? I mean, is that what it is?
I don't know.
Or
I mean, look, I'm not a
shrink.
shrink. I can't assess. He seems like an eccentric guy to me, so are half of my friends. I mean, but that's not the point. The point is, shouldn't you assess what people say on its own terms? If I make a claim and you attack my family, you're not really addressing the claim, are you?
Well, see, and that's what happens with the left all the time. They don't have any leg to stand on. What Kanye is talking about is the fact that, listen, regardless of the color of your skin, things are better for people in America. People of different ethnicities are more economically free today than they were before. Ask yourself, what can you not do today in America as a black person that you could do when Obama was president? Nothing. In fact, there's more black businesses starting. People, their families are strengthening. People go around and they're talking like, hey, you know, things are actually getting better. And I want to point out one thing real quick, Tucker.
Yeah,
Did
we're
you
almost
notice
out of
that?
time. Hit me with it.
You notice that they had Jim Brown in there right next to Kanye West, but you notice they're too scared to talk about Jim Brown, but they'll try to go after Kanye West.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just for freedom of thought. That's it. You know, independent of any individual. But Christopher, thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Tucker.